Where the fuck have I been? And that is about as far as I have thought ahead for this thing. So, hi, how's it going? It has been a long ass time since I've last talked to any of y'all. I did not bring a script with me. Nothing. There's nothing here for me to go off of, so it's gonna be a lot of me pausing between words to think on the fly, and even seeing my own video monitor on the monitor is throwing me off, so need to do that real quick. Anyways, hi, how's it going? How you doing? It has been a while. Yes, I have gone about 2 to 3 months without saying a word, or at least not saying a word on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that the last thing I did on this channel, at least publicly, which is something I'll get into in a bit, that was the last thing that I posted about the Steam hardware survey and just talking about the Linux ecosystem. The 18th, I'm pretty sure, of September, which was a day or two before my birthday. 25. I'm only a quarter of the way to my inevitable demise, so, something worth celebrating, I guess. At the same time, I had also hit several milestones since that video. In fact, September was also the month that I decided to just completely revitalize the channel, since I really hadn't given the channel much of like a consistent kind of branding or say. Honestly, some might say I still don't have much of a consistent branding, which is part of the problem. But September was the month that I decided to really start just laser focusing my effort onto putting myself out there. Just giving myself an image. Just something that could be identified. So that was when I put out that whole channel trailer. And in fact, honestly, that's still probably going to be one of my more personal favorite things that I probably did all year so far. Was the teaser for the channel trailer, because frankly, doing skits like that, it's honestly really entertaining, at least until you happen to get a noise complaint because your room is directly above the other people downstairs, directly below you, that can apparently hear everything. Yeah, that's gonna cause complaints. So that aside, I still think that went surprisingly well. And then, of course, we had the talk about the Linux ecosystem and hardware surveys and how the numbers are just really stupid. In the time frame between publishing that and then eventually the birthday celebration stream that I hosted like the day afterwards, and to today, the sub count just inexplicably doubled, a little over doubled, in the time since that point where I wasn't doing anything, which is kind of amazing, and I'm very terrified for what's going to come next after this. Still, I have now started going on for 5 minutes here without actually going into the point that I was going to make. It has been a long time since I made that video, and despite the fact that the numbers and everything have gone up, I seemingly haven't done anything. So what the hell's up with that? In the weeks following that video that I did about Steam survey numbers and shit, the original plan that I had was that I was going to take like a week or two off, 2 weeks, to just kind of recover, because I basically spent the later bit of August and then eventually most of September up to that point essentially just working on video stuff. So that includes the skit and the channel trailer, where I also had to get live footage for that, and just generally trying to decide on the theme that I went with and trying to make that in a way that I was actually happy with. And then eventually, of course, the hardware survey video itself. Wanted to, of course, spend the time to make those as good as I could. Came out great. So I decided to give myself a little bit of a break and focus on what I thought was going to be other things that wouldn't take too much of my time, but just wanted something as a palate cleanser to just kind of do to take my mind off things so I can recharge myself for what I was originally going to do after that break, which was I wanted to at least do 3 other videos. The first 2 essentially just being smaller, not super small, but, you know, kind of filler-ish content that isn't necessarily related to what I was teasing at the end of that video, then I wanted to actually commit to doing the Linux thing that I was planning, that I teased all that time ago, because I actually have been working on that over the past month and a half or so straight. Now, granted, the momentum was a little bit slow when starting, and that kind of tends to happen, especially after realizing that the thing that I was just toying with at the time ended up turning into a hell of a lot fucking more than I actually thought, and it went way out of hand to the point that it became kind of a big thing. And the reason why I'm speaking so vaguely, you know, just speaking in broad terms about this without naming the thing in question, is actually because that thing that I was working on was going to be something that was a part of actually a future video. Now, granted, this wouldn't be like the next 2, 3, not even maybe 4 videos from now. This is going to be something in the far off distance that I had planned, because I have a ton of stuff that I have like written down. Among my show notes that I have, which consists of things for scripts, various errata that I need to keep in mind for certain videos and topics, and all this other stuff that I just have for specifically planning out this stuff. There's a lot of work that goes into this shit. More than you would expect, especially for something of my size and being just me. I have an entire list laid down, like even down to the point of there are certain topics that I want to do that do ultimately connect back to certain parts of that Linux series, which has kind of been part of the plan. It's a way to sort of do and talk about other stuff while also still ultimately connecting me back to Linux stuff, because in the end, that's still something I want to, I guess, kind of fill a niche for. So it was supposed to be something that was not, even if it wasn't going to be in the immediate future, it was something that I was going to plan for months in advance. At the speed I'm going for, I probably have the next 2 to 3, maybe 4 years worth of like video ideas and stuff already planned out. It was supposed to be for the far off future is the point. And instead, it turned into a month or so of coding work. Because yes, I'm apparently a programmer now. Yes, I also don't know how the fuck that happened, but that's the state of things now. Of course, the one thing that I'm referring to, which wouldn't want to have to bring this up now just because I want it to be a surprise. The thing I'm, of course, referring to now happens to be the light gun project that I decided, apparently, that I was going to publish work on, the IR Gun for All. Now, that's a stupid name, but to some people that might actually sound a little bit familiar, because if you're in the PC light gun space, you're probably already familiar with something that sounds vaguely similar to that. And yes, I came up with the name in a way to not seem totally blatant to that other person's work, because what they were doing was, of course, a closed source project, and essentially what I was doing, re-implementing it in a open source project that I was already using for guns like this, which was the very first one I made before any of this happened. I was already using someone else's code base that I was already happy with, but I just decided to start adding in, you know, little features, little tidbits that I personally wanted in an open source system, but just didn't exist. I just decided to look into how these things generally worked and how you would operate. Just out of curiosity to see how hard would it have been. Turns out getting some of these things working at a basic level wasn't actually all that difficult. So I decided, why can't I do that? And so I did. And what became a small little curiosity then just turned into me basically completely hyperfixating on this one thing that doesn't even really have anything to do with videos I had planned for this year. It just seemed like everything that I've done this year in the year 2023, everything that I touch just seems to have an affinity for spiraling completely out of control and either just blows up and becomes a complete mess, or somehow just becomes a huge success without really intending it to. And it actually gets moderately popular, and it's something that I end up having to work on over the course of a couple weeks. And in this case, this little project, again, for effectively just plastic guns that technically the base code that I was working on, obviously I'm just working off of someone else's work, and I'm just putting in the things I wanted. Surprisingly, ended up somewhat popular for some reason. Now, we're not talking super big, but what I actually haven't mentioned is that the last public video was on September 18th. However, there was actually another video that I posted. Now, it wasn't a major production in this case, but I did release what was effectively a privatized, demo reel of what the system could do. And the funny thing is now, I actually have to update that because there have just been so many more things added since then that the early demo that I published to go along with the initial release doesn't even describe less than half of the things that it has now. But that private video is sitting at just under 200 views for something that was never published. I never put it out on social. It really only went to one slightly unpopular forum post, which in of itself has actually gotten something around 2,000 views at this point, and a GitHub repository, and that's it. Not even someone who, is fairly reputable in the space already. I don't really have any of the credentials that someone doing this kind of thing really should. I'm just an idiot making YouTube videos. But because I decided to put the time in to invest into learning how coding works with things like an Arduino, with things like Picos, that I now have a couple of that I actually need to work on more things for this thing. Just to improve the thing even more. Putting all that time just led to this thing happening. And also someone, for some reason, decided to pay me money for doing this, which is odd. And also, having people actually coming into your small, weird little project and actually putting in issues, because I guess they use it themselves and they too want to see it improve, implying that they too use your thing and enjoy it enough that they want to see it get better rather than just immediately dropping it and going to whatever the alternative is. That was a really weird feeling to know that it was something that I kind of made myself. But anyways, that was something that more or less took up my headspace for the latter part of September and most of October. Now, after I kind of finished most of the stuff with that, and, to the point where I kind of got to a point where it's not that I couldn't work on it anymore, it's just that I wanted to pull myself away so I don't get burned out easily, and also knowing that I have other responsibilities like this YouTube channel that I should do. My Ko-Fi page is mainly centered around this YouTube brand of sorts that I'm doing, which isn't a brand, it's not a company or anything. I'm literally one person doing all of this myself for the sake of just being a passion project and because it's just stuff that I want to see more of myself. That's all this is, really. But I still felt like I had that obligation of a sort. Not in a bad way or anything, but it is something that I should be mindful of. And then I actually need to start managing time better because I have people who might be expecting some of this stuff to come out on a somewhat regular basis, and I haven't provided it to them. So oopsie on that. But I was getting back into the swing of things in November, and November was pretty slow. I honestly really couldn't tell you why I was so slow during the month of November because, frankly, even I'm not sure why. It's just the only way I could reasonably describe it that isn't just pure laziness, because it wasn't laziness. It wasn't any point that I was just deciding not to work on the thing outside of maybe for the sake of my mental health. But sometimes when you're staring at a timeline, especially at an empty timeline where all you have is audio waveforms and, in this case, quite a lot of live footage that you cut already before the fact, and you just have this whole thing that's empty of stuff that you need to fill in, and you haven't even started the first minute. Yeah, that's kind of demoralizing, and so it left me in this kind of rut where I was really taking it slow and hyperfixating on just how to start the thing in the first place. That took a while, and that's actually what kind of took most of November, and I'm really not stoked to say that kind of thing or stoked to admit it, but it's something that I feel like I have to admit because, well, this is the thing that some people happen to have been paying for for 3 months now. There are people that actually look at this kid on the internet and are just like, yeah, I don't know, that guy's kind of cool. I'm going to send him money. You know, he can do whatever with it just for random stuff on YouTube, which is very scary, frankly. But, you know, can't disappoint the people that support. So I kind of needed to hurry up with this. And I kind of did for towards the later part of November was basically me finally getting out of that creator's block, just out of that rut of not really having a vision for what I wanted to do. Eventually, I did actually find it. And, you know, now I'm actually kind of chipping away at the video timeline bit by bit, you know, day by day, you know, working on it just a couple of minutes at a time, because I am that type of creator that's extremely slow and very deliberate about the kind of stuff that I want to make. Not to insult other people that do this, because of course it's more efficient for them, or that's just what they like to do. I'm not really the type of person who just wants to throw a video file and an audio file onto a timeline, just stitch it together like that, and then just render it and post it straight to YouTube from there without doing much of anything. I actually do kind of enjoy to make somewhat of a production about this stuff, because in the end, the stuff I do are, in a way, they're like stories. And, you know, stories I think deserve like a little bit of panache, a little bit of presentation. And I enjoy the editing part of the video creation process the most, despite the fact that it is easily the part that takes the longest. But that does mean, because I'm such a slow individual who's only really just starting to do this semi-seriously for the first time in 2023, means it takes a while. But I at least had the hope that I would be able to maybe have it done by hopefully Christmas. Christmas has come and nothing, of course, has arrived from that. So what the hell happened? Around the middle of December, and this is actually something that I've already talked about on the Ko-Fi, and the reason why I'm not going to elaborate on this too much, but I'm just going to bring it up, is simply because while it is the contributing factor to what has stalled production for so long, because in the end, it relates to that mental health thing again, and my home situation. The reason I'm not really going to go too much into the detail of it is simply because I usually like to think that no matter the kind of things that happens behind the scenes at home, I'm not the kind of person who really wants to like make a huge spat out of that on YouTube, because in the end, that's not my audience's responsibility. You know, they're not at all a part of the things that happen between me and my family and my living situation or whatever. If something happens, that's not going to be their responsibility. Why are they the ones that have to hear it? Well, in this case, it has affected you guys, because it has affected me and my ability to make stuff with a clear conscience, because I happen to realize that my family has kind of a shitty fucking relationship together. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm totally mentally in a pretty good place right now, because they are actually starting to take steps to resolve their situation. When we actually came to the decision of what we're going to be doing going forward into the new year, that was the point when I actually got a bit of relief and was able to start working on things. But at that point, the project was only about halfway to 3/5 of the way finished. And I only had a couple of days left till Christmas, and I wasn't going to crunch that hard, even though I sure fucking tried a couple of times. Maybe against my better judgment. Still. Put it off from the holidays. Instead, I just put out a small teaser just to kind of throw it out to say, hey, I'm not dead, and here's the thing that's going to be coming out. Which, frankly, for a short that I don't really do a lot of, and I'm probably not going to do many shorts going forward, but the short was met with pretty positive reception overall. Didn't really look at the comments much because I've just been focusing on getting this thing out first. But still, that's pretty good. It's pretty optimistic. It's just that it's taking a little bit longer than I'd originally intended, and you can blame that part on me for just being slow. And the only thing I can really say to that is I'm sorry for that. I sincerely apologize that I can't get the stuff out as quickly as I'd like. As a creator, this is just the kind of thing that I sort of had to come to terms with, that I really couldn't put into words before, but it is soul crushing when I'm trying to get a thing done, but I just don't have the spirit to get it out as soon as I'd like to. And even though that there might be other things that, totally legitimately will push things back a bit that are just out of my control, that's still something that I am extremely not happy about having to deal with. But reality is never kind, as I'm starting to realize, and I just gotta roll with the punches, right? That said, there has been a lot of progress. I can at least now confidently say that the video project I have going on now, which is in fact going to be the first part of that Linux series that I've been working on since September, that's about 3/4 done, and I hope to have it more done over the course of the New Year's break. I say break in air quotes because I really don't have employment right now, so it's just another Monday for me. But I want to have that done at least by the end of this week, because frankly, that's a lot more realistic a time for me, because I only have like 5 more minutes of footage to actually edit through, which is a lot more reasonable than doing 21 minutes of stuff with like editing and like all these visual gags and just, there's a lot of stuff that gets put into the stuff. Words. I don't know. Words. There's a lot of work that gets put into the stuff. I can't crank that stuff out in like 2 or 3 nights. Usually these things do take about a week to 2 weeks. Just as the example, the topic about the Steam hardware survey, that took about 2 straight weeks of just straight editing, not even accounting for the recording and all that. The voice recording anyways, an hour of my time only takes a day, and then cropping out the audio to make that flow better, given just how terrible I am at still talking into a mic, it only takes the better part of a day. Then the editing comes, and then it's going to take a lot longer. That's just kind of how it is. But at least I was able to get that done in about 2 weeks. The fact that this has taken about 2 months is not something I'm proud of. And I think in the end, the thought that I have is that once you see the thing come out, I hope that you'll kind of see the work that's put into that and maybe appreciate it or something. Or not. I'm not going to make you, because I'm not your parents. But, just understand that when it does come out, there has been a significant amount of work to not only make it a video that flows well, that has, some production into it, but is also accurate and isn't trying to misinform people. And there are just other things that come in during the editing process when I actually have to revise parts of the script, so to speak, where I actually have to add in extra parts because I just realized, oh crap, this is kind of a problem that I should really make note of. And, I have to now add in like another minute to extra 2 minutes worth of editing and vocals that I have to do at that point. That's actually something I'm going to have to do in a bit, but well, it is something that I hope that you might be able to appreciate. That's just how it's going to be. Sucks to suck. I know it's taking this long, but I hope that you'll enjoy it when it does come out, hopefully within the next week or so. Don't really want to make too many promises because I felt like I've pushed back the release date on this way too far back as it is, so I kind of don't want to put a firm date because I feel like I'm just going to jinx myself. And I've been rambling on for 35 minutes, so I have no idea how this is going to go, but I really should wrap things up. I was going to talk a little bit more about 2023, but I think in the end, I've actually been pretty happy with the state of things. Like, obviously, things got crazy pretty much all in the latter quarter of this year, from working on actually semi-successful coding projects for my standards anyways, something that I've never really done before, venturing into different types of video making. Like, the stuff that I've done this year, there's been like a whole variety of stuff. And I'm happy to say that I am at least glad at how at least half of the videos have come out. There have been some duds, of course, and some that I maybe think should have gotten a little bit more attention, but I'm not going to be the person that begs for stuff on a platform with a whole ton of other creators and have thousands of more subscribers. I still think YouTube is kind of a scam sometimes, but that's just how it is. But I've been experimenting with a lot of things lately, and it has really given me the confidence, I think, in the experience to actually venture out more into things that I've always wanted to do, but just didn't really have the confidence to. But now that I think I'm gaining some of that, I might actually be able to start working on a little bit more long form projects that will absolutely probably take a month or two to do, but I think in the long run it's going to be worth it. I think both for making something that's enjoyable to everyone else and something that's enjoyable to me, because these are things that I want to see more of in the world. And in the end, these are kind of going to be my white whales that I'm not going to be able to do in 2024, but these are things that I do hope to do, and if not the next year, then the next couple of years, as I kind of swim through this weird YouTube and video platform landscape, ocean. I don't know what metaphor you want to use for this, but still. Anyways, I've just been talking a lot into a microphone and or a camera, and things have been going on for close to 40 minutes, which is double the length of the thing that I've been working on now. And I really think I should probably start turning things off before I get out of hand, and I'm going to have a thing that I'm not even going to be able to get out by New Year's. If you have any comments, feel free to write it in the box down below. I mean, engagement and all that crap, it does help regardless. There's also where I have to plug in my not patronage thing so that you can get all your names in the end credit scene here. Because even the littlest bit of support actually does mean a lot for my mental health and for my motivation to keep working harder on these things. With all of that said, be sure to show some love to the people around you, even if you disagree with them. And thanks for watching.